Podcast, the podcast where comics are my shtick. My name is Blake Wild. You may also know me as Smokey's Videos, and on this week's episode, episode 16, right? Yeah, I'm going to be talking about a lot of movie and show-related news, I guess, is what you could classify this as. This is my second time recording the episode because I tried it once and the files got lost. They did not save like I thought they did. So take two, baby. Here we go. As you can tell from the title, I'm going to be talking a lot about Kenobi, Stranger Things, The Boys, Top Gun, and Morbius, apparently. But before I get into that, Destructo Boy, The Era of Alpha Cardinal, Part 1 of 2 is on sale now at etsy.com/shop/Blake T. Wild. Make sure you capitalize the B, T, and W. And it is $9.99 plus shipping and handling for the physical copy and $5 for the digital copy. Destructo Boy is going to be a 5-issue miniseries that follows this little robot man right here on the front cover. His name is Destructo Boy. He lives on a giant space station called Zephyrus Colonial Space Station, and he is the only one who can save the day when the villainous Alpha Cardinal reemerges from the depths of darkness. Check it out. 5-episode miniseries, little issues. Part 1 and Part 2, or Issue 1 and 2 is about Alpha Cardinal. Issue 3 and 4 is another two-parter, and Issue 5 is going to be one longer story. Like I said, physical copy is $9.99, digital is $5, but if you do buy a physical copy, you will get a free head sketch of any character of your choosing. I will include it right here in this front page. It'll be a little piece of paper I'll stick inside, and I'll autograph it right here. And that can be any character you like. It can be Spider-Man, it can be Batman, it can be the creature from the Black Lagoon, it can be Katana Face, I think is what his name is, from that anime manga. It can be anything, any character you want. I will draw them and include it in your copy, and I will ship it out to you. So check that out, etsy.com/shop/Blake T. Wild. And yeah, it is on sale now. Issue 2 is coming soon. And speaking of Issue 2 coming soon, I've really started an episode off talking about what I've been doing recently, and I've made allusions to this. I've discussed it a little bit, but I'm getting closer to wrapping up that comic project that I was hired on to. I was hired to illustrate, which is pencil and ink, color, and then letter a comic book script for someone, and I'm now on the coloring stage, which, albeit does take me the longest out of all the stages of creating a comic. That's why Destructo Boy is in black and white. But yeah, I've begun the process of coloring those pages, so hopefully within the next few weeks I will be done with that. I will be able to, that's where all my focus has been going, since this is a paid job that I'm getting to work on. So a lot of my focus has been there, and I just got real busy back in May, so not a lot of focus has been able to go towards the channel. Or Destructo Boy. So once I get done with that, I will begin the process of, getting Destructo Boy Issue 2 to the printers and everything, getting that printed up, selling that online for everybody who did pick up Issue 1. Issue 1's still going hot. Get it while you can. I don't think I'm going to be reprinting these anytime soon. But yeah, so that's just a little update there. Other personal update is that over the weekend, I did watch Drag Me to Hell and Evil Dead from 2013. I just wanted to talk about these a little bit. I hadn't seen either of these films ever before. I knew Drag Me to Hell. I didn't know anything about it aside from it was a Sam Raimi horror film. And I knew Evil Dead from 2013 was sort of splits the fandom of Evil Dead and like the horror audience at large, although it seems to have come back as a cult classic. People seem to dig it a lot more now than they did when it was initially released. But yeah, with the upcoming release of the new Evil Dead film, Evil Dead Rise, which is coming out sometime later this year on HBO Max. They haven't announced an actual release date. I'm sure by the time this episode comes out, they'll probably post it right as this episode goes live or something. But at this time, no announcement yet. It is, if you're unfamiliar with this new Evil Dead film, it's not going to star it's not going to star Bruce Campbell, although Bruce Campbell and Sam Raimi are producing it. It is following these two sisters, one who lives in this high-rise apartment in LA, maybe. I can't remember what city it is. It takes place in the middle of a city. So this sister lives in this apartment complex, and her sister, this woman lives in an apartment complex, and her sister comes to visit. And then, for some reason, there is a volume of the Necronomicon in the basement. And you can see what happens from there. Deadites come up and start possessing the tenants of this apartment complex, and people are just trapped inside. There is a mid to late 80s Italian horror film called Demons 2, which is the sequel to Demons, obviously, which is basically this exact premise. It takes place in a high-rise apartment building, like a luxurious, like sort of futuristic apartment building. And demons just begin possessing people, and they're like just, possessed monster people like the Deadites. So, I'm interested to see what sort of parallels there are between Demons 2 and Evil Dead Rise, because it's more or less, it's the same premise. I want to do a video about that once Evil Dead Rise comes out. Just like Evil Dead Rise versus Demons 2. Just, comparing, contrasting, and reviewing both of them. So let me know what you think about that. Anyway, I'm going to talk about Drag Me to Hell first. Drag Me to Hell is from 2009. It is one of Sam Raimi's horror pictures. And it is PG-13. But my God, the amount of stuff he gets away with in that movie is insane. There's this horrible, what is like a gypsy woman who is possessed by a demon or something. It's like a hallucination caused by this demon that's haunting this woman that just vomits maggots and shit. It is ridiculous what he does in that film. It follows this woman named Christine, who is a bank loan officer, who denies a loan or a loan extension for the third time to this gypsy woman. Obviously, since she's a gypsy woman, she casts a curse upon Christine by stealing one of her buttons. And the button is... Christine gets it back somehow. I can't remember how. But it's like, you need to get something from the person that you're trying to curse to get it to affect him or whatever. But Christine is cursed by this demon called the Lima or something like that. And in 5 or 7 days, it's going to come and kill her. And until then, she's just going to be haunted and just terrorized by this fucking shadow monster. So the whole film is about her trying to stop it from coming and taking her to hell. And it is a wild ride. It is a fast-paced movie. It's go, 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 which is what I love about Sam Raimi's films. Eventually, Christine, she goes to this, psychic guy in this strip mall, and she's like, hey, I need some help. I think I'm cursed. And he's like, fuck yeah, you're cursed. You got this fucking demon coming after you. It's going to take you straight to hell. And, he gives her some options of what she could do. She doesn't believe him, and then she ends up sacrificing her kitten as a blood sacrifice to the demon, because she's like, I'm all out of options, I'll just try this. So she just fucking murders her kitten and then buries it in the backyard, and it doesn't do anything. And she goes back to the psychic, and she's like, what the fuck, you said it would work. And he's like, I said it might work. So he just eventually, spoiler alert for this movie from 2009, by the way, so he comes up with the idea of taking her to this, big name mystic that all the psychics in town are aware of. And this woman, 40 or 30 years in the past, she tried to save this boy who had the same curse, but she failed to do it, and this boy got dragged to hell. So she's made it her life's mission to find redemption there and, destroy this demon or whatever. So Christine goes and visits her. It goes poorly. The demon possesses the mystic woman, and then it possesses her helper, and then it possesses this goat that attacks everybody and hurts them. And then the whole, like, the mystic woman dies, and she only succeeds in temporarily banishing the demon away from Christine's presence, and Christine is like, she did it, oh my god, I'm free, I'm alive, I'm not gonna die. And the psychic buddy of hers is like, oh, no. That's not how it works. And he tells her that, like, really the only option she has left is to just get rid of the button, because she gets possession of the button back, the cursed button. And he's like, yeah, as long as, like, you know, you have it or just don't do anything with it, it's yours, and that means that the demon is going to come for you. But if you can gift this button away to somebody else and ensure that it becomes their property and that they own it, then that person will be dragged to hell and doomed to eternal damnation, and you'll be peachy keen, you'll be just fine. So Christine and her boyfriend, who's played by Justin Long. Speaking of Justin Long, what happened to Justin Long? What has he been doing? I feel like he, like, sort of fell out of films and acting in, like, the 2010s. The last thing I can think that he was in that I saw was Tusk by Kevin Smith, and that was like 2013, I think. But anyway, he plays her boyfriend, who is, like, the only person who believes her and, like, helps her and isn't an asshole to her. Aside from the psychic, I guess. But they're planning on taking a trip out of town, because he's like, okay, you need to get out of town and clear your head. Let's go upstate to my parents' cabin in the woods, and we'll just have a nice, quiet, relaxing trip. We'll take the train up there, blah, blah, blah. And so as they're leaving the psychic's abode, following her death, they're driving away, and then something, like, the demon, like, appears before their car in the form of, like, this screaming, decayed corpse of the gypsy woman, and it causes Justin Long to slam on the brakes. And like I said, she's a loan officer. He works at a university, I believe, so they got a lot of papers in their car. And she put the button in a little unmarked white envelope, and the envelope flies to the ground with all the other papers, and she freaks out, and she's searching for it, she's looking for it, and she finds it. She's like, oh my god, I cannot, that was too much. That might have killed me itself if I could not find my button. And so she just, Justin Long drops her off, and she's like, yeah, I'll be fine, I'll meet you at the train station tomorrow. And so he reluctantly drops her off at her house, her apartment, or wherever, and goes home to pack and get ready for their trip. And Christine, instead, she like packs her stuff, and then she drives to a 24-hour diner where she sits there and contemplates who to give this doomed, cursed button to. And she's just chugging coffee after coffee. She's trying to stay awake the whole night. And, like, the waitress pisses her off, and so she, like, threatens her with the envelope with the button in it, and the waitress is like, what the fuck are you talking about, lady? So Christine is looking around, seeing who all's there. There's this couple, this young, like, late teens, early 20s young couple who are there cuddling, and Christine's like, oh no, I can't do it to them. She looks over, and there's this, like, a single father, and his kids are there at this late hour for some reason. And she's like, no, can't do that. And then she turns, and over in the corner of the diner is this frail, nigh geriatric old man with, like, the oxygen mask and everything, just sitting there blankly staring at nothing as he waits for, like, his food to be delivered at this little 24-hour diner. And she goes, oh shit. She's like, you can see her thinking, like, oh well, he's close to dying anyway. I mean, I don't know for sure if he's a good person. He could have been a terrible person. Maybe he is going to hell already. I'll just give him the button. So she, with the button in hand and the envelope, she gets up from the counter and begins marching towards this old man to doom him to hell. And right as she's about to confront him, this little old lady comes shaking up and sits down next to the old man, and she has a slice of pie, and when the old man sees her, his face just brightens up, and they start, like, just talking with each other. You know, it's like a husband and wife, they're still together, and Christine's just like, oh fuck, and she turns around and goes back to the counter. Then she gets the idea to call this asshole coworker of hers who cost her her promotion. She's like, yeah, I know you're the reason that I didn't get promoted, because you fucking, like, told our competitors something about my client, blah, 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 whatever happens. So you get down here right now, or I'm telling our boss. And so she calls, the shitty coworker shows up, and he's begging her and pleading, and she's just like, no, I don't care. You take this button, I'm giving you this button, and then we're never seeing each other again. I'm leaving this diner. Do you accept this button as your property? Do you swear it's yours? And this guy who's just been an asshole to her the whole film is just like, please, yes, I'll take the button. I'll take whatever. I'll do whatever you want. Just please don't make me lose my job. I'm so sorry. I'll take the button. And she stops, and she just can't do it. She goes, oh, fuck, just go home. God damn it. And she drinks some more coffee, and the guy's like, what are you talking about? I'll take the button. I'll do whatever. And Christine just tells him to forget it and leaves. And as she's driving home, she remembers something that the psychic told her. The psychic said that it is possible to gift an object, such as a button, to a dead person. Who should have died very early on in the film, but the same gypsy woman that cursed her. So Christine drives to the cemetery and digs up the coffin of the gypsy woman as it's just pouring down rain, and she cracks open the coffin. It's this rotting, decayed corpse, and she shoves the envelope with the button inside the gypsy corpse's mouth, and she's like, ha, you stupid bitch, I win! Fuck you! You know, she doesn't say that because it's a PG-13 movie. I won, blah, blah, blah. And she's standing in the open grave. There's dirt on either side. The rain is coming down harder and harder, and mud is just filling it up. And she watches as the corpse is drowned beneath the muddy water. And then she starts to climb out. And because it's raining so hard, the ground is very wet and slippery. And she cannot get out of this grave. And so she's clawing at the dirt, and eventually she tries to, like, grab hold of the headstone, which is like a big cross coming out, like, you know, the big stone cross. But she can't get it, and the earth begins collapsing, and she, like, just pulls a bunch of dirt down on top of her, and she's, like, spitting it out and everything and trying to, like, get it out of her eyes when the woman's corpse bobs up out of the water behind her, and through some miracle of black magic grabs onto her. And so she starts freaking out. She's trying to get this corpse off of her as she's slowly starting to, like, drown in this flooding grave. And she's freaking out more and more. The rain is pounding down on her. Mud is getting in her eyes. She's panicking. She rips the corpse off of her, tosses it to the other side, and she starts trying to climb out. And right as she looks up, the headstone collapses and falls into the grave and slams her on the skull. And she just sinks to the dirt. She just sinks underwater. And at this point, you're like, oh, well, fuck, I guess that's how the movie ends. No, because she just comes back up. This headstone falling on her has seemingly no repercussions for the rest of the film. Probably because there's only about 15 to 10 minutes left. So, with the gypsy woman now cast into eternal damnation, Christine returns home, takes a shower, gets all of her stuff ready, and the next day she's at the train station, and she walks past this little shop, and she sees this beautiful blue coat, and it looks kind of like her old one, but it's much fancier, and so she buys it, because, you know, she doesn't have a coat anymore. She doesn't want to wear that coat because of the button and all that. And she puts it on, she looks amazing, and she finds her boyfriend, Justin Long, at the train station waiting for her. And they meet, and, like, you know, they're embracing, they kiss, she's all happy, she has her suitcase and everything, she's so excited. And he's like, oh man, the train should be here soon, we can get going, how are you feeling? Are you feeling better? And she's like, oh, I feel amazing. And then he realizes that she's wearing a new coat. And he's like, well, wait, where'd you get this coat from? And she goes, oh, I bought it. I bought it when I was coming here. I saw it in one of the shops. Why? And he goes, oh, well, I found your button. I thought I could repair it for you. And it's at this point where it is revealed that Justin Long is a coin collector. And at the very beginning of the film, Christine gifts him with this like rare coin that she found when she was at the bank. And he put it in a similar envelope that she put her button in. So that thing that she shoved in that corpse's mouth was this rare silver coin. And she takes out the button and looks at it. And just all the color fades from her face. And as, you know, she starts to realize what's about to happen, she just starts screaming and she trembles back. And Justin Long's like, wait, stop. And she just is in full-on panic mode and she falls onto the train tracks. And Justin Long drops to the ground and is reaching his hand down, trying to get her to get up. And she's just like, it's like she's moving in slow motion. She just can't come to terms with what's happening. She's panicking completely. And then you hear the honk of a train horn just blaring, and it's coming up to the station. Justin Long is screaming, he's crying, she's panicking, and as the train is about to roll into the station at max speed, the gravel from the train track beneath Christine rips open, and demonic arms shoot out of the earth and begin dragging her to hell as Justin Long just has to sit there and scream and watch. There's nothing he can do. The train's coming. Even if he could go down there and pick her up, they'd both die anyway. And so he's just screaming for her. She's screaming for him to help her. And she's pulled down to hell, and the last thing you see is her face and like then her hand as she's just ripped down to the depths of hell, and then the train shoots past, and then the final scene of the film is Justin Long screaming and weeping, and then it just cuts to credits. And holy shit, there's a lot of like discussion online. Oh, well, I don't think Christine deserved it. She was just doing her job. The reason that she denied that gypsy woman her bank loan extension is, one, it's her third loan. She could have done it. She could have done the third extension, but she wanted to impress her boss and get a promotion, so she decided not to. So, you know, there's that aspect of it, being a wage slave and whatever. But, like, what do you expect from a horror movie? More often than not, the victims of horror movies don't deserve it. Did all those teenagers in Friday the 13th deserve Pamela Voorhees brutally murdering them because a separate group of teenagers, like 30 years prior, didn't save her son? No, but nobody complains about that. But for some reason, a lot of people complain about that aspect of the film. I highly recommend Drag Me to Hell. It's PG-13, like I said, so it's not gory or anything. It just has a lot of disgusting visuals, a lot of like bugs and like decaying corpses and shit. Like I said, for a PG-13 film, Sam Raimi went all out. He pushed it to the extent that he could. But yeah, it's a great film. Now I'm gonna just briefly talk about Evil Dead from 2013. I love the original trilogy, Evil Dead, The Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn, and Army of Darkness, which for some reason a lot of people don't talk about when they talk about the original Evil Dead films, which is the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard. I absolutely love Ash vs. Evil Dead. I've actually just recently gone and begun watching this third season. I never watched the third season when it came out initially. I don't know why I didn't. Probably because it was on Starz, and Starz was just a shitty platform to put it on. I watched the first two seasons when they aired, but I'd never watched the third one. But yeah, so I wanted to check out Evil Dead from 2013, the remake, the reboot, rather, because I'd never seen it before. And Evil Dead from 2013 is a reboot because it's the same premise as the original film. This group of teenagers goes to this secluded cabin, except this time the secluded cabin is owned by the two main characters, Mia and her brother David's parents. They were trying to refurbish it, and then they just they kept pushing it further and further back on like the list of things to do, so it's just been in disrepair. And the reason that this group of people is going out to this cabin is because Mia is addicted to heroin. And they want to do it as like a detox. So it's Mia, her brother David, and then like three other people, two women and a guy. They never explain who these other characters are. in relation to each other, or if they did, I just wasn't paying attention. But, it's not really that important. It's just like, oh, he's the guy with glasses who reads the book. She's the nurse one. She's the brunette. She's the blonde. It's not that important to really know their names, because they're all going to die. But what makes this it's not in the same universe as the Evil Dead films either. There's like allusions to the original. There's the Oldsmobile parked out front, like underneath a tree for some reason, and the Necronomicon is there, but the Necronomicon looks different, and they don't call it that. They call it the Naturum Dearde or something like that. And apparently in the original script for the Evil Dead, I think they call it something along those lines also. But Sam Raimi's initial idea was not to call it the Necronomicon. It was to have this book is split up into 6 volumes, and each volume is about a different types of demons, and then the combined version is the Necronomicon. But the book they find is not the same book that the kids find in the original Evil Dead. Also, the tape recording of Professor Nobi doesn't exist in this universe, because it was never Nobi's cabin. It was Mia's and David's parents. So the demon in this film is not the Kandarian demons from the original films. The totally insane, maniacal, just terrorizers that like to possess people and then just play with everyone's emotions until they're slowly driven insane and then murdered. This demon, which is my biggest problem with this film, because the film itself is a good horror movie. It's a decent Evil Dead adaptation. It's an alright Evil Dead adaptation. It's a good horror movie, though. It's gory, it's so much blood, there's a lot of visceral just wounds and damage that happens to the characters. Somebody gets their fucking arm crushed by a car, and you see the skin flay as they rip it out from underneath. Stuff like that. But the villain of this film, the demon, which is apparently called the Abomination, it is literally just a knockoff Pazuzu / Exorcist monster. Even down to the eyes of those possessed, specifically Mia, they look exactly like Reagan from The Exorcist, the little girl who has the yellow irises and just the pinhole black pupils. It just looks like a fucking Exorcist possession. And they aren't interesting either, because Mia, when she gets possessed, she's like the only possession with a personality that actually, tries to fuck with the people. All the other people who get possessed, they're like Resident Evil zombies. Like, they don't speak, or if they do, it's very little. It's grunts and mumblings and groans and screaming, and they know how to use tools and to fuck shit up, but it's just boring to watch. There's nothing interesting going on visually or character-wise for these demons, or for this demon, because it's one demon that sort of possesses all of them. But yeah, like I was saying, it's just a knockoff, Exorcist Pazuzu, down to one of the lines in this film being an almost exact copy from a line from The Exorcist. In The Exorcist, if you haven't seen it, it's about a little girl who becomes possessed by an evil demon. When the Exorcist himself, the priest, shows up, and he's trying to exorcise the demon, the little girl in a demonic voice shouts, "Your mother sucks cocks in hell," or something along those lines. In this film, when Mia is possessed and her brother tries to figure out what's going on, Mia, in a demonic voice, shouts, "Your sister is raped in hell." So you see, it's a pretty obvious pastiche that is going on here, and that's what I feel really hurt this film the most. They were really creative with the violence and the gore and the kills, but it was just such lacking in creativity when compared to the original Evil Dead films that I just wanted it to be over. I didn't care. I was just like, yeah, I know how this is going to end. Fucking Mia is going to lose an arm, and she's going to fight the demon in a blood storm of blood rain for some reason, and everybody else is going to die. and the cabin burns down, and I was just like, okay, can we just end it already? Because I don't care what happens, which is not what you want for your movie. So, yeah, The Evil Dead, I don't recommend it. Primarily if you're a big fan of the original Evil Dead films and you haven't seen it yet, because it is a letdown. There's so much they could have done, like, oh, well, you know, it's a different kind of demon. There's a lot you can do with that. Just look at Ash vs. Evil Dead. But this, it's such a bare bones idea for a monster that it just doesn't work very well. And, yeah, that's all I got to say about Evil Dead. Also this week is Miss Marvel's release of episode 1. I'm very excited to watch it. Again, like usual, because they goddamn release all these episodes on Wednesdays, I'm going to be a week behind whenever I do my reviews. So get ready for that. I'm very excited for Miss Marvel. I'm really excited for Iman Vellani. She seems like the perfect fit. I've been reading articles about how, like, she texts Kevin Feige about, like, issues she has with the MCU. Like, she doesn't like that they call it the 616, and because it's Earth 19,999. And, like, every time she sees Kevin Feige, apparently she tells him this, and Kevin Feige is just thinking in his head, oh god, I really regret giving her my contact information. She also tried to get a Lockjaw Easter egg in the Miss Marvel show, but that didn't work. She's just, like, she loves Miss Marvel, and she's read all the comics. She cosplayed as Miss Marvel, like, 6 years ago for Halloween. I guess that's not cosplay if it's Halloween. You know, she just seems like she embodies the character of Kamala Khan perfectly. Like, she is the super fangirl elevated to hanging out with the big mainstream superheroes. And that's basically who she is in real life. So I'm very excited to check that out. Now on to some comic book related stuff. I read Amazing Spider-Man #2 by Zeb Wells and John Romita Jr. I don't really care for it, which is disappointing. It's slow rolling, which I don't usually mind, but it's just that kind of storytelling where even though it is slow... Well, no, the one I don't mind is, like, when it is slow, but they still have a lot going on. Like, there's still interesting elements of a story. Grant Morrison's Green Lantern run comes to mind. In their run, it's, like, you know, it's called Seasons. Like, Grant Morrison decided to call it Season 1, Season 2, blah, blah, blah. So there is that overarching story, but there's always something new and interesting happening in each episode of it, each issue, that... you know, it provides an interesting beginning, middle, and end of a story, and also carries the overarching theme. This isn't really happening in Amazing Spider-Man. What is happening? Norman Osborn's back to normal for some reason. I never read the Spencer Amazing Spider-Man or whatever. I think that's the most previous run. I didn't read that after, like, the 4th or 5th issue. I just stopped. I know Goblin got the Carnage symbiote for some reason and became, like, Red Goblin or something. Something fucking stupid. So I know that happened, but I guess Norman's back to normal, and he apparently helped Peter with something during the 6-month time skip that happens in this event, or not this event, this series, but it does make me excited for when an eventual event tie-in happens, because that means... either one, the event tie-in will have to happen before this Amazing Spider-Man series and before the time skip. 2, it'll have to happen during the time skip. Or 3, everything in the Marvel Universe is taking place at the same time as the future of this Spider-Man series. I doubt they're ever going to bother answering that, because I doubt they give a shit enough. But it's just funny that he has this whole idea about, oh, there's a big time skip going on in the series. Find out what happened. And then eventually he's going to have to write a tie-in issue that sort of undoes that mystical aspect of it. So anyway, Norman shows up. He asks Peter to babysit his grandkids, his grandsons, Normie and the other one. I know Normie Osborn. I don't know who the other kid is. I don't know where he showed up at. Like, that could have been something, like I was saying about the Grant Morrison stuff. Like, the issue could have been about Peter Parker babysitting these two, like, preteen boys. But no. The comic goes, Norman Osborn meets Peter. Norman brings the kids. He gives them to Peter. Peter's like, oh, okay, I'll watch these kids. Flip the page. It's all about Tombstone now. Tombstone goes on a rampage against Crime Master, I think his name is, because Spider-Man fucking, like, I don't know, he emasculated him or something when he foiled this weapons deal that Tombstone was leading. And, yeah, then when it cuts back to Peter, finally, he has dropped the kids off, and he's walking alone, and he switches to his Spider-Man costume. And he eventually finds Tombstone, and he gets kidnapped. Spider-Man gets kidnapped by Tombstone. It's this dumb little scene where Tombstone's in the back of this box truck, and the box truck has been outfitted with, like, these, like, crushing walls, like the compactor in Star Wars, which, you know, shouldn't be a big deal for fucking Spider-Man, because he's one of the strongest characters. But it freaks him out enough for some reason, to the point where Tombstone is able to, like, bear hug him and crack his ribs and knock him unconscious. So that's where it ends. I am starting to regret having pre-ordered issues 1 through 6 of this, because I'm not digging it. I think issue 6 is probably going to be the ending of my reading of this run, unless something really catches my attention about it. The other comic I read was X-Cellent number 3, which I did enjoy. It continues to be a beautiful oddity of a comic. It picks up after the X-Cellent team led by the villainous Zeitgeist. They finally have a teleporter, and with this teleporter on their team, they use him to break into the Sanctum Sanctorum while Doctor Strange is not there. Doctor Strange is on the cover in a beautiful rendition by Mike Allred. He briefly appears doing some magical shit, and then he just disappears from the book. So X-Cellent teleports into his sanctum, and they just wreck the place and destroy everything and are, like, live streaming it. And Zeitgeist finds the Book of Vishanti, opens the pages up, and, like, takes pictures of some of the pages on his phone, and then has the teleporter send them all away. So God knows what he's doing with that information. Meanwhile, Ecstatics is still trying to figure out what the fuck to do about X-Cellent. So they get an influencer / reporter to go after X-Cellent, and the influencer, as they are done, like, after they do their report on what a shitty team X-Cellent is for breaking into the superhero and good person, generally, Doctor Strange's house and destroying the place and live streaming it for the internet to watch, they are attacked by a mob of, like, Zeitgeisters or whatever they call it. You know, it's like it's clearly, you know, illustrated and inspired by, like, a right-wing, like, sort of group, like, protesters coming after this person, and, like, they're trying to break into the influencer's, like, office building to fucking, like, lynch mob them. And so the influencer's freaking out. I can't remember what their name is. I do like that they are they go by they, them, so I guess they're non-binary. I believe that's correct, the correct term. So that was a neat little addition. But, like, they're freaking out. They call the leader of Ecstatics, I can't remember any of their names, the empath guy. And so the Ecstatics begin to leave to go save them at the end of the issue. And also there's, like, a love triangle that has begun between 2 of the characters, or 3 of the characters. The final comic that I read this week was Spider-Punk number 2. It's printed on the exact same shitty paper as the first one. It is still a fun story. I'm still digging it. It involves the newly formed Spider Band, which includes Riri Williams, aka Riot Heart, Captain Anarchy, Kamala Khan, who I don't think she has, like, a riot or a punk-themed name yet. At least they haven't given her one yet. And Spider-Punk. It involves those 4 fighting the Taskmaster, who's, like, Southern in this universe for some reason, and Kraven. When the kids defeat them, Taskmaster sort of lets it slip that somebody hired him and Kraven to take out this, like, community center that the kids base their headquarters out of, because beneath it is a secret Osborn facility, and they don't find that until after Kraven suicide bombs like the goddamn Predator. so in the Osborn facility, it's like genetic experiments and weapons and prototypes and shit like that. And they're just like, oh my god, there's a lot down here. And then they look at a map on this giant computer screen and they find that there are like facilities dotted around the country. Norman Osborn in that universe was the former president who was like, a fascist, corrupt piece of shit who Spider-Punk killed. So now the Spider Band decides to hop in their spider-themed van, which they'll probably just call the Spider-Mobile. And they're going on tour around the country to destroy these labs and facilities. So, that's a fun premise. That's a fun premise to get these characters into different, wacky, interesting situations each issue. And they still have to uncover who the mastermind is that wants access to these facilities. And the next issue is going to involve Kingpin and a punk Daredevil, so I'm excited about that. Now on to some comic book themed news, or related news. Yoda is going to get his own Marvel comic. People are wondering if they'll reveal what species he is. I bet not. I bet they're never going to reveal Yoda's species, because why would they? But I do feel that it will become very obnoxious to read that much Yoda speak. Oh, I'm sorry. Obnoxious it will be to read that much Yoda speak. Or to read Yoda speak that much. I don't know. But after I thought about that, I did see that it will apparently be following Yoda after he gets a concussion playing hutball, and that is how he starts speaking backwards after he gets that concussion. So up until that point, the comic is just going to be a normal dialogue. Then he's going to be playing hutball. Qui-Gon Jinn is going to tackle him too hard, and he's going to get a concussion and start speaking backwards. The next piece of Marvel, I guess, related news is that Joe Quesada is leaving after a 2+ decade run at Marvel. He has been influential in Marvel for the past 20 years. Some would say he is a big reason behind their success, both in the comics and beginning of the film universe. He was like a consultant on the early MCU stuff. But I think that he might join Frank Miller Presents. What if that's what he's going to do? Dan DiDio did it when he left DC. Why wouldn't Joe Quesada take this opportunity to join this Frank Miller company that's going to be publishing comics that I can't imagine is going to last very long because they're based around Bitcoin, or not Bitcoin, cryptocurrency and whatever. Well, I guess it's Bitcoin. Yeah, I don't know how long Frank Miller Presents is going to be in business, but I can easily see Joe Quesada joining up with them. And finally, Kelley Jones may be working on a Popeye horror comic. Kelley Jones is most known for his Batman vampire work, his Batman comics in the 90s. Check out my video on the Batman Vampire Trilogy on my channel if you haven't already. A couple days ago, by a couple days I mean probably last Thursday or so, he posted a image on Twitter which was this horror, like this pinup sort of horror image of Popeye that he did a couple years ago when he had the idea for a Popeye horror comic. And he tweeted that out, and the official Popeye Twitter, in the Popeye voice, retweeted it, and in essence, I'm not going to do the Popeye impression. I tried to do it when I first recorded it, and it sounded terrible. In essence, what they said is, say aye or nay if you're interested in a Popeye horror comic by Kelley Jones. And the resounding answer was a resounding yay. So the Popeye Twitter later replied to their own tweet saying, well, I guess we're going to get in contact with Kelley Jones, or whatever Popeye says. I don't know. I haven't seen Popeye cartoons in so long. So yeah, I really hope that there is a Kelley Jones Popeye horror comic in the works. Imagine it's like fucking like Lovecraft Monsters meets Popeye. How incredible would that be? Especially since it's by Kelley Jones. So I really hope that comes to fruition. Alright, into some movie stuff. Daniela Melchior, I'm not sure. And Maria Bakalova will appear in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Daniela Melchior was rumored months ago, but James Gunn denied it. But finally, he confirmed that she is going to be in it. And when she was first revealed to be in it, everybody was like, oh, she's going to be Moondragon or Phyla-Vell. Moondragon in the comics is Drax's daughter. And Phyla-Vell is the cool version of Quasar, who I think died in the Dan Abnett run of the series. I can't remember. But, yeah, so that's interesting. No real word on how big their roles will be. Might just be a cameo, might be a setup as, like, a character that's going to be continuing to appear in the next upcoming Guardians films, because James Gunn has said that after this third one, he's done with it as the team, and, like, the team is going to be dispersed, and probably someone's going to die, maybe Drax, and it's going to be a new team whenever Marvel decides to continue it. So that's exciting. Morbius is Backbius, in a way. Due to a successful meme campaign on Twitter and social media, Sony executives made the wise decision, after snorting a line of cocaine, to re-release Morbius into select theaters. I think they said it was like 1,000 theaters got it back. Got the main man himself, Morbius, back in their showings. My theater was one of them. And I did not go see it because the only showing was at 9:50 p.m. And I gotta wake up in the morning. I gotta wake up early. And I'm not gonna go see a Morbius showing that starts at 10 p.m. and doesn't get out until, like, at least midnight. I'm not doing that for Morbius. I'm just gonna buy it on Blu-ray and watch it at my own leisure. But apparently it did not make any money. It made like $82 million, I think. Not as much as they probably hoped. Or 82 million, 82,000. I can't remember. I think it might have been 82,000. So yeah, it didn't do very well this second time around. Hoping for the sequel. A lot of trailers as well this week. Tim Burton's Wednesday Addams. We already knew this was a thing, but they gave a little teaser trailer. It's Jenna Ortega as Wednesday Addams. Seemingly, from what I've read, it's going to be sort of like Nancy Drew, but with Wednesday Addams. She's going to be solving a mystery or mysteries each episode. Not much about that yet. The Sandman trailer, which is going to be released August 5th. The Sandman, the Vertigo comic by Neil Gaiman. Kelley Jones also worked on that, I believe. Did he? I can't remember. Maybe not. It looks great. It looks incredible. Emphasis on looks incredible. The CGI looks great. The costuming looks amazing. I'm sure the story's going to be great, although it does seem like they are crunching together at least the first 2 volumes of the comic. So, hey, check out my videos on Volume 1 and 2 of The Sandman. Yeah, we don't know how many episodes it's going to be. 8 to 13 is what I imagine. So I hope that they're able to tell the story enough that it doesn't cut out anything too good from the comics, but it also doesn't feel too, like, you know, congested and squished together, because it's a lot of stuff that would be in there. I really hope they get the 24-hour diner scene in at least one of the episodes. I think Dr. Destiny is going to be in it, so hopefully. But my biggest issue, aside from the fact that I bet that it's not going to make any DC universe, like outer universe references or allusions, because 1, it's on Netflix, and 2, over the course of time, Sandman just sort of fell out from, like, making references to the wider DC universe. Because if you've read the first one, you'll know that, you know, Martian Manhunter cameos in, like, the first couple issues, one of the early ones. So I bet that there's not going to be any, if all, references to the wider DC universe in this show. My other issue is that I don't like how the Endless look. They just look like normal people. I wish, like, Dream is just some guy with black hair, and Death is just some black woman with an Ankh necklace. Like, why? If I wanted to see, like, the personified, anthropomorphized embodiments of, like, gods and ideas that look like normal people, I would have just watched American Gods. But with the Endless, I want them to be this, like, mystical, unearthly, otherworldly, just makes you not, like, you see them and it's unnerving when you look at them, because they're so just abstract and unhuman-like. Even though they do look like humans, you know, they have the completely just solid white skin and, you know, like black or fully white eyes. Yeah, they just have black eyes, I think. Like, really? What, did you spend all your budget on the CGI and nothing on the makeup? They did it to Zoe Kravitz in Guardians of the Galaxy. They made her green. Why can't you make these guys white? Like, not like me white, but like all white. You know what I mean? Like 100% white. Even, like, if they didn't want to do that for some reason, they could have at least given them, like, opaque contacts. Like, I don't know, fully black eyes or fully white eyes might look cool. You know, just something that makes them look mystical. Because now it just... It does away from the, like, that mystical value that the Sandman has. And that is a major bummer for me, for this show. That, and it's also on Netflix. You know, I imagine this show has been in the works since before HBO Max was a thing. God knows if it'll get a second season. Who knows with Netflix. But yeah, my interest in this show is slowly waning more and more. But I'll still check it out. Moving on, the final trailer discussion is about Prey. And Prey is a new Predator movie set in like the 1800s, and it's this Native American tribe who goes against a predator. And do I need to say more? That sounds incredible. I feel like for years, whenever Predator movies get brought up, people are like, why don't they just reboot it or just make a new one, but like set it in the past? Like the Civil War versus the Predator, Predator on a pirate ship, Native Americans versus Predator. And finally they're doing that. And hopefully this one is successful enough, even though I think it's going straight to... It's either straight to HBO Max or Hulu. I think it might be Hulu. Can't remember. I think Evil Dead Rise is HBO Max. Maybe I can't remember. It's going straight to streaming for some reason. But hopefully it's successful enough to where they continue this like sort of anthology trend of Predator movies. Like, fuck, just go to Wikipedia, hit the random page until like a year or a place comes up, and pick a random year, or fuck, don't even do that. Just get like a random year generator, and just 1692 Predator, 1847 Predator, 2121 Predator. Just fucking keep doing that. Why not? But yeah, go check that trailer out. I highly recommend that one. It looks really good. Much better than the last Predator. I'm still kind of heartbroken that Predators never got a sequel or any continuation, because I really liked that film. But yeah, I'm really excited for Prey. Alright, wrapping this up with the big stuff that's in the title of the podcast. Starting with Top Gun Maverick. I'm going to try and do this quickly because we're coming up on an hour. Fantastic. It is amazing. I fucking love Top Gun Maverick. It is an incredible sequel. As I was watching the movie, and as soon as the mission briefing got brought up about the like what they'll be doing, which is flying through this like really narrow valley in this ambiguously foreign country, I was just like, this is the Star Wars trench run. It is literally the Star Wars trench run if the whole Star Wars Episode 4 was focused on the X-Wing pilots who were going to be going on the trench run on the Death Star. They got to go, in both movies, they have to go through this very narrow place to reach their target while they're like possibly under attack by like anti-air guns and enemy ships or planes. In both, they each have to hit a ventilation shaft. In Star Wars, it's the Death Star. In Top Gun Maverick, it's the uranium enrichment facility. And finally, after they destroy that ventilation shaft, they have to shoot a missile through it and hope it goes through and detonates inside. And Rooster, the son of Goose, his targeting doesn't work, so he just does it blind. Like, I was surprised I didn't hear the voice of Goose's ethereal presence telling him to use the Force or something when he took the shot. But yeah, it's just the Star Wars trench run, the movie. And I do think, I really dig it. It is nostalgia done right. It's like, compare Top Gun Maverick and Ghostbusters Afterlife to Star Wars The Force Awakens and Jurassic World. Like, two of those films did this a lot better than the other two did. And I really liked The Force Awakens. I saw it in theaters 3 times when it came out. But Afterlife and Maverick, you could just feel that the people behind it cared more. Like, they really cared about making this investing story for the audience, who is both new and old, and not just sort of retreading old ground. It's the same basic premise in both films, but it does enough new stuff to warrant this being a continuation and to make it an interesting film. It did make me tear up, and I just really loved it. The only issues I had with the film was that Danger Zone was not played enough, and it wasn't homoerotic enough like the original. I don't think any film is going to top... I don't know where I'm going with this. The original film was very gay. It just is. This one, not so much. They have the shirtless, like, beach volleyball scene, but it doesn't work as well because they're, like, backlit and you can't really see much, and it's not as fun or, like, as entertaining as the original is. It's not as on the nose as the original. But I hold the thought that there will never be a film in the mainstream media, one that does not get categorized on, like, Netflix as, like, hey, it's June, check out these LGBTQ movies. It's not something that's going to be in there, but something that is in a wider genre. And that is the horror genre, and the film I'm talking about that will never be beaten in terms of homoeroticism in a film that does not quantify for it at all, but it still appears, is Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge. Holy shit, if you want to see a gay movie, go watch that. It is absurd how homoerotic it is. Like, if you think Top Gun's, like, fanciful, wait until you get a load of that. of Freddy's Revenge. Because goddamn. And, speaking of Nightmare on Elm Street, let's talk about Stranger Things Season 4, Volume 1. I was shocked when Episode 6 ended. I think it's 6? Yeah. 7. So Episode 7 ended, and the credits came up, and it was like, Volume 2, coming July 1st. And it ended on a cliffhanger. I was like, what the fuck? I still have to sit through more of this goddamn show. I did enjoy it. It was second best season that they've aired. Hopefully the second volume holds up to the first. But I don't know. I'm just going to go down my list of stuff that I have here and just sort of talk about various aspects of the first volume. The Max camera. So, when Max is possessed by Vecna, and she's in, like, the Mind Palace, whatever, and the boys are freaking out and trying to get her Kate Bush cassette tape, and they put it on her, and, like, that cloudy window into the real world opens up. Why is it a, like, third-person camera point of view? Like, it's not even, like, a person, like, holding it. It looks like the camera's on the ground looking up at the Max and the boys. And then when she starts floating up, it, like, follows her up, like, it angles upwards. Like, who is watching them? Where is this coming from? How is he seeing this? It would make more sense if it was from first-person point of view of Max's perspective. If you've ever seen the Jordan Peele film Get Out, there's a scene that's almost like this exactly, where one of the characters, like, gets entranced and hypnotized, and he gets stuck in his own head, and he's just floating in this black abyss, and then there's, like, these two big windows in the front that are his eyes, and he can see the real world through them. That would have made much more sense if, when that cloudy window thing opened up, if it was, like, the three boys in front of her, like, freaking out, yelling at her. and like, and then as she slowly started rising up, it followed from her perspective. But no, for some reason, it's just like, I don't know, does Vecna, did he possess like a rabbit or something that he uses as his personal cameraman in Hawkins? Like, why was that a third person view? It took me out of it. It didn't really work very well. There's the whole storyline with the satanic panic mob and the jocks. Sammy Davis Jr. gets killed in the lake. I don't know how they're going to wrap up that story. Part of me just hopes that they sort of forget about it, because I don't really care that much. But I'm sure something's going to happen, and Vecna is probably going to kill a bunch of them, and then everybody's going to run away. The flashback scenes with 11 at the facility took me out of it as well. It looked weird. Some uncanny valley shit going on. Because is it just me, or did 11 look way too small in those flashbacks? Like, she looked oddly proportioned, like her head was just slightly too big for her little body, and she looked really weird when she stood next to other people. Maybe it's because I haven't watched the first season since it came out. Maybe it's because I'm so used to just seeing Millie Bobby Brown as, like, the size that she is now and what she looks like now, to where, like, my brain just didn't comprehend and compute that it was supposed to be her. But yeah, she just looked weird, and I didn't like it whenever they showed her being young again. The Wes Anderson cameo was very cool. That was in the episode where Mike and the boys go. What was in The Other Guys, the Will Ferrell movie? Wasn't it Dirty Mike and the Boys? During the episode where Dirty Mike and the boys go to Dustin's Mormon girlfriend's house, Wes Anderson cameos in that episode, and I couldn't believe that he showed up in it. If you don't want to bother going through the episode to find it, check out my Instagram. I posted a screenshot of it on there because I freaked out when I saw that Wes Anderson appeared. It's from a couple days ago, maybe a week or so ago, so check it out on there. My Instagram is @NotBlakeWild. That's N-O-T Blake Wild. So yeah, check that out, because it was a fun cameo. Let's see. I wonder if we're ever going to find out what Will's painting is. I think it's going to be like the dogs playing poker, but instead of dogs, it's the boys and they're playing D&D. Or it's Mike with the body of a centaur. The Hopper storyline continues to elude my attention or interest. I will repeat what I said last week. I don't give a shit. I wish he would have stayed dead. I want to see how this show ends, because part of me wants to edit season 3 and season 4 to make Hopper be dead. But I don't know how that's gonna work when these fucking like 4 or 5 storylines all converge together eventually. How they're gonna do that, God knows. Maybe I don't know, what could they do? Hopper, Joyce, and Murray, they escape back through the portal and come out in the Hawkins Mall, maybe? I don't know. Murray is great, though, so that's a silver lining from that storyline. His arms are made of iron and his feet are like spears. And now let's talk about number 1, aka Vecna. I figured that he was going to be number 1 pretty late in the game. It was during, I can't remember what episode it was, but it was when he and 11 were talking and they're playing Plinko, and I was like, oh shit, he's gonna be number 1, isn't he? But I did not see him being Victor Creel's son. I thought he was gonna be the gray-haired guy who runs the facility's son for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe because like everybody calls him Papa or something. I also sort of figured that he may be Vecna, but I did not see them being the same person. I was like, okay, he's either going to be number 1, or he's going to be the person who becomes Vecna. When it was revealed that he's both, it sort of blew my mind. I am still a bit disappointed that my fan theory that Vecna was Victor Creel trying to escape his asylum through astral projection, and then he got trapped in the underground. A bit disappointed that didn't happen, but oh well, what are you gonna do? So yeah, that it was a interesting conclusion to the end of Volume 1 of Season 4. Felt a bit ham-handed when they zoomed in on the number 1 tattoo on the guy's wrist, because they already revealed that he's number 1, so why do they have to do it again? I am both looking forward to and absolutely not looking forward to Volume 2, because the episodes are going to be really fucking long. They announced that Episode 7 is going to be an hour and a half, and Episode 8 is going to be 2.5 hours. Assuming that it's like 13 episodes like the previous ones, was it 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, maybe 6 more episodes? I hope it's at least 4 to 5 more episodes, because, oh my god, 2.5 hours for one fucking episode of Stranger Things. Jesus Christ. And then, have you heard about this? Season 5, they're going to cut back on the amount of episodes. Season 5 is only going to be 6 episodes, but every episode is going to be 14 hours long, and you can only watch it all in one sitting. You cannot pause it and come back to it. You have to watch it all at the same time, or else, if you try to stop it, it restarts from the beginning, and you can't go back to where you were. So, yeah, I guess we'll see how that plays out. On to The Boys Season 3. Holy shit. It's becoming a little more in line with the comics as the boys form their group and they get the Compound V to, heighten themselves to fight the superheroes. And it is just even more insane than the past seasons. Go check it out. That's all I'll say. And finally, the pièce de résistance, Obert-Wan Benobi, Episode 3. Spoiler alert, like I do for all these discussions, Darth Vader is back, and I don't think it's James Earl Jones doing the voice, because he previously did the voice in Rogue One, and you could hear his age, which is a reason that I didn't like Darth Vader's appearance in there. I wish that they had gotten an impressionist, like I think Matt Sloan is the guy who did it for the Force Unleashed video games, just because chronologically, it doesn't make sense for his voice to change like that. I'm sure if George Lucas was still in charge, he'd re-release it with an actual authentic Darth Vader voice that, sounds like James Earl Jones from the 70s. So I figured that they would get either an impressionist for this show, not James Earl Jones, who I still do not think they did. I'm pretty sure they just did that vocal synthesizer sort of thing that they did for Luke in the Book of Boba Fett, because this sounds way too perfect to be James Earl Jones. And everybody's going on like, oh, James Earl Jones is back as Darth Vader. But I don't think so. He's like 80-something. And he doesn't sound like that anymore. Speaking of Darth Vader, holy shit, Darth Vader's a monster. He's just fucking snapping kids' necks, murdering people. He fucking breaks a woman's leg and then just drags her through the fucking dirt trying to get Obi-Wan to come out after him. The only thing I didn't like about Vader in this episode is his belt. He has little green lights on both sides of his belt that just, I don't like that. It looks weird. It looks like he's wearing that so he doesn't get lost at night. The Inquisitor base, the underwater Inquisitor base, that was really cool to see. Obi-Wan's family gets brought up, which is something I never really thought about. I don't know if Legends really went into it at all, but apparently Obi-Wan has a brother. I love Zach Braff's. Is that Braff's? I love Zach Braff's cameo as that little fascist mole who sells Obi-Wan down the fucking river. Let's see. Oh, shit, yeah. Quinlan fucking Vos. I freaked out when he was name-dropped in this episode. If you're unaware who Quinlan Vos is, he first appeared in Episode 1 of Star Wars. He made more appearances in the comics and later in the cartoon Clone Wars show. He's a, dark-skinned Jedi with dreads, and he has a yellow piece of, paint or tattoo going across the bridge of his nose and his face. He also appears in, an Asajj Ventress novel where they become lovers before she dies. But it's awesome to know that he's still going about his business in the universe. He's a really cool character. Let's see, what else? Oh, yeah, the Vader confrontation was really cool. It was really nice. It was really cool seeing the lightsaber fight in like the pitch black, like it was the only light being cast. That was a really interesting battle, and how like reluctant and scared Obi-Wan was to, you know, face Darth Vader, and Vader's just fucking swinging at him with one goddamn arm. Speaking of one arm, holy shit, Obi-Wan's arm is fucked up. Maybe that explains why he was so slow moving and rigid in episode 4, you know, aside from age. I don't understand why he wasn't very flammable, though. Like, what does Obi-Wan have going for him that Anakin doesn't in terms of of flammability? Because Anakin just lit up, and Obi-Wan was laying in that glass and fire for quite a while, and he did not catch fire. Maybe after Anakin, he only started wearing flame-retardant clothing or something. And again, now on to just some stuff I don't like, which was Reva, the third sister. If you saw last week's episode, you'll know that I really dig her as a character. I love what a piece of shit she is, and I love to hate her, because she's a terrible human being, and I think the actress is doing an incredible job. Just being this vitriolic, hate-filled piece of shit Inquisitor. But her finding the secret entrance in that work shed is just ridiculous. It is idiotic. It is stupid. There was nothing askew. There's nothing out of place to warrant her feeling that way. She just sees the big droid walk out of the building, and then she just whoosh, uses the Force to open the door and goes inside and starts looking around. Like, we don't get any allusions to her using the Force. She doesn't, like, pick up an object and sense that Obi-Wan was there recently. She just is like, I'm familiar with every kind of workshop layout in the galaxy, and I would never put a shelf there. Force pulls it out. Oh, look, a lever. Ka-chunk. If anything, what they should have done is instead of having Obi-Wan fucking stare at Darth Vader like a goddamn dork, have them all, like, sort of panic when they see Vader come around the corner of the street. And they're in a hurry to get out of the exit and into the escape tunnels. But one of them, maybe Leia, she bumps into some stuff, and, like, I don't know, a wrench or something falls in between the door and the wall frame and causes the door to not close completely. So that way when Reva comes in, she senses it. She can hear or feel like wind flowing through from this crack in the wall, or like the opening of the door not closing all the way, or something, or like she hears the door motor trying to close itself. Literally anything other than what happened in the show, which is nothing. The other question and biggest problem I have is how the fuck does she get to the end of the tunnel? She finds the entrance, and we know that there must be several exits because the woman that helps Obi-Wan out goes to his aid at the quarry. So how the fuck did Reva find the exit before Leia did? Unless Leia's just an idiot who was running around in circles for like 10 minutes. My theories are either, one, the Imperials probably have some sort of scanner that they can use on terrain to, like, seismograph or something. I don't know if that's what works. Like, some sort of geological scanner, and they, like, found all the tunnels, and, like, Reva went to the one that she figured Leia was going towards. Or two, the one I personally believe in, is that Reva took her Inquisitor lightsaber, started spinning it, and just dug through the earth like Bugs Bunny until she came out at the exit and murdered that guy waiting for Leia. And then she just sort of sat there and waited. I don't know. I liked, a lot of people were complaining about how slow the beginning of the episode was. I'm fine with that. I like slow-moving storytelling. My favorite climax is an anti-climax, which is why my ex-wife left me. But, yeah, just Reva was the biggest issue I had, I think, with this episode. That, and, we're already at by the time this episode comes out, we'll be at we'll be at episode 4. 4 out of 6. We only have 2 episodes left. 2 weeks left of Obi-Wan. I think there's another season coming, but like, this is not what I expected it to be. I thought more focus would be on Obi-Wan and his spirituality and his mental well-being. I thought it was going to be like an Obi-Wan character study, but so far we've barely seen anything about Obi-Wan. We saw him meditating and trying to contact the little light ball that is his former master Qui-Gon Jinn in the first episode. Or maybe the first episode. But that's it. He's just been filling his life that has no meaning. He finally gets something to do, and that is to save Leia, and that's all we've seen. Which is, it's cool, but it's not what I hoped for. I'm still really digging the show. This is going to be a wrap on the episode. Overall, I do enjoy this show. I've enjoyed all the Disney Plus shows from Marvel and Star Wars. But, yeah, I hope it starts picking up. I wonder if next episode, this coming episode, is going to have a little more Reva backstory in it, possibly. Maybe I'm correct, and she was one of those Padawans in episode 2. But yeah, let me know what you thought of all the topics I discussed in this episode. What are your thoughts on Obi-Wan, The Boys, Stranger Things, Top Gun Maverick? Was it gay enough for you? Have you been reading the comics that I discussed? You checking out the new Amazing Spider-Man? Let me know in the comments. Let me know anything in the comments. How you feeling today? What did you do today? Are there any other shows or movies I should check out and discuss that are coming out recently that I just have not come on my radar? Let me know in the comments below. As always, Destructo Boy, The Era of Alpha Cardinal, Part 1 of 2 is on sale now. Part 2 is coming soon. Check it out, etsy.com/shop/Blake T. Wild. Every purchase of a physical copy comes with a signature, or autograph, whatever, signature, and a free head sketch included inside of any character you would like. Oh, and also, here's the back cover. Each back cover is going to include a character that is featured in the story. This is Oron Aronitis, who is a leader of this cyborg, cyborg group. So, hey, if you want, since each issue is going to have one of these, you can buy 2 copies, get 2 head sketches, and that way you can have one to face this way and read, and one to just display the backs of. That's a pretty good deal. But yeah, check this out. Etsy.com/shop/Blake T. Wild. Follow me on Instagram at NotBlakeWild and at Smokey's Videos for updates and whatever else I'm doing. What else? Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Follow me wherever you're listening to this at. Probably on Spotify, if anywhere. Podbean as well. My podcast goes up on there. But yeah, I will talk to you all next week. Bye.